I don't think there's perhaps any necessary reason to want anonymity. I would imagine if you're engaging in something that there might be some ridicule from some people who don't appreciate the joy that you get from it. There might be some desire to create a little anonymity that you might get by donning a helmet.
Maybe you wouldn't want a coworker to know you did it, or maybe people in your immediate family to know. I don't.
Yeah, possibly. Plus I would imagine for sort of fantasy-based activities like we're talking about. I would imagine that you get to revel a little bit more in the sense of power, by putting this helmet on, because you become in some ways mysterious, perhaps more threatening to other people, and you're clearly, instead of being Steve Jones or whoever, you become this this entity.
Smart man. You get to add your own personality to a character that has been basically immortalized in time. These are Imperial beans.
What's your name?
My name is Joshua C. Cole. I'm a Staff Sergeant in the United States Air Force.
What draws you to this?
For one, just the Star Wars aspect, but in the other sense of it, it's just like when you see the look on a kid's face, when they run up and they believe that you're the real thing. I mean, that's just one of the most incredible feelings in the world. And plus, to know that you're also doing something and giving something back to the community at the same time is it's heartwarming, and it makes it all worth it. That's probably the thing I live for, is knowing that I'm making someone else's day.
Obviously, charity work and fundraisers for organizations like Make-A-Wish are nothing new for the 501st. Occasionally, these requests are outside the norm.
The white plastic isn't always what does it. It's the fact that we made so many friendships and fellowships, and we do charity and stuff that tells us, hey, this has staying power. So I think we're going to be doing this for a long time. This year has just been a really good test of who's going to be doing it and what are we going to be doing in that time.
In April of 2005, the Florida Garrison contacted me with the story of Christian Stafford, an 8-year-old child who had been diagnosed with leukemia.
Star Wars became his escape. It became a method for him to escape the reality of what he was going through.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, take a look.
Wow.
Take it out of the package.
Whoa! This really feels like... You know what this feels like?
What's it feel like?
It feels like it's real. It feels like it's metal.
It is. All right, turn it on.
My name is Rick Stafford. I come from Orlando, Florida. I'm a dive master for Walt Disney World. I've got 2 master's degrees. I'm also a fitness instructor for a boot camp program that's run down in Central Florida. I get a call. The doctor did a simple blood test and said, don't pass go, don't collect $200. You either have Shands, Arnold Palmer in Orlando, or Wolfson's Medical Center in Jacksonville to get him to right now, because it appears he has leukemia. Christian is my clone. And the one thing in my world, the one person in my world who looked up to me all the time.
You be a skydiver like your daddy? You skydive like daddy?
Could die.
Cold.
You're cold? Why are you cold?
Because I took a bath.
Took a bath. You all clean? Hold on, let's see. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Good morning, Christian. I love you. You scared?
No.
No. Okay, today is Sunday, the 29th, day plus 19 of the transplant. And today, for the first time, Christian is eating popcorn. Yum, 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 yum. How's that popcorn?
Good.
Tell me about his passion for Star Wars and his love of all things Star Wars.
Well, the movies were coming out, and I figured, you know, growing up, I had watched Star Wars. Daddy gets to give his son some legacy here of his own childhood loves. And started showing the movies, and he started really, really liking what he saw.
Hi.
Hi. What are they doing?
Watching a movie.
What are they doing on your arm?
What?
What are they doing to your arm?
Pumping it.
Can we get your temperature, Christian?
Then he said, I want to look like a Jedi. And so I had to go out and get him a costume. And so I got him the costume, and he would sit in the bed, dressed up as a little Jedi. You know, had the little thing coming down the side, and you know, he had a little robe, and so if he ever had to leave the room or walk around in the halls, he'd put his cloak on, put the hood up, just walk around with his little IV pole. He just became like a sponge to Star Wars, and so I kept feeding his desire because, you know, I didn't know how else to keep his mind off of the reality of what he was going through, because this little boy is pinned up in a room that's, you know, 10 feet by 12 feet for days and days and days. And the isolation was for his protection because his immune system was beaten down by the chemo to the point of him being susceptible to anything. But, you know, when you're in that environment, you have to do that. Otherwise, you will go nuts.
I wonder if it did I take that.
Huh?
I wonder if it did.
Oh, I know it did. Here, start it down.
His condition, I'm assuming, at that point worsened.
Yeah, we after the bone marrow transplant, we kept expecting. We knew there was going to be a period of downslide in his condition. You know, he had started to get some hair back right before the bone marrow transplant. Then with that round of chemo for the bone marrow, it completely wiped out everything. And that's when we found out that the leukemia had been hiding again in his system. And this is when the doctor told us that he was not going to make it, that he was now going to be a 15%er. And that was very hard. He never knew he was going to die. We never told him he was going to die. I did not need him to have that fear. But at the height of the ordeal, when after we had been told that he was not going to make it, when everything seemed so dark and so hopeless, a huge box showed up. We bring it in the room, we open it up, and inside is a letter from Lucasfilms. And underneath this cover letter is a signed picture by George Lucas.
And he signed that for you.
And inside the box are Legos and clothes and Pez dispensers and all these Star Wars paraphernalia.
Wait a minute. It's his head.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
His head, we brought it too.
Cool, huh?
My mini saber. Just like yours.
And how do you view that corporate entity? I mean, in that kind of framework.
I thought it was an amazing thing. You know, it's one thing to just send maybe a signed picture, but to have somebody go through the warehouse, pull things off of shelves, put them into a box, pay the postage, and mail it to a little boy on the other side of the country, just because somebody said this little boy has cancer and likes Star Wars. And I was very, very proud to write a thank you letter to them. It meant a lot to me to let them know that what this meant to us.
Okay, what do we have?
I have my Star Wars spaceship.
How long did it take us to make it?
I forget.
6 hours and 34 minutes.
And then that package was then followed up by another package from Lucas Arts. So Christian was
was never in short supply of things to do or games to play.
Daddy, you gotta see this.
I first got in contact with the 501st by accident. My goal was to bring Christian down to MGM Studios, where they were holding Star Wars weekends every year, but every weekend he was sick, and therefore we were at the hospital, so we never got the chance to go.
There you go.
The button was not.
So I was forced to bring an alternate version of Star Wars Weekends to him. While doing research for Star Wars Weekends, I noticed the parade, and I noticed a lot of stormtroopers in the parade. And at the bottom of the picture was a caption that said, Florida 501st Garrison. And this was going to be my answer to bringing Star Wars characters of different varieties to Christian. I knew this was getting close to the end of Christian's life, and so I had to act fast. So I contacted the members of the Florida Garrison and requested their help. And I was thoroughly shocked by how quickly they responded.
Did a good job, buddy.
Excellent job.
The 501st, we're going to present him with a certificate making him an honorary member, as well as a helmet and a blaster. So that was all planned. We were all ready to do it. He started not responding as well to the medications anymore, and he was becoming more and more tired. And the morning of March 6th, which was the weekend before the troopers were going to show up, he woke up that morning not able to open his eyes. And he was very upset about it. And he kept asking me to bring him something that would keep him awake. You know, anything. It's like, Daddy, can you give me something to keep me awake? I'm so sleepy. I'm so sleepy. So we tried to get him something, and we just couldn't keep him up very well. And the hospice nurse came and took some vitals on him, and then took us aside and said, this is probably the day.
What goes through your mind at that point when someone tells you that?
You know, I often talk about how he was so considerate, even on the day that he chose to pass away, that he made sure it was no major holidays. No, it was not anywhere near anybody's birthday. It was just a day, and it was a beautiful day. And then as the evening came on, he probably about 6 o'clock, he started crying out a lot, talking about things that weren't there. You know, he cries out, you know, I want to live forever. And you know, and now you know that all you can do now is pacify him, and just be there. And he, you know, and he would cry out, and you were hoping that he could still hear you, and then he had stopped talking altogether, and it was just a matter of time now, and it became very hard because all you could do was watch the clock. So when he finally, the last breath left his body, you know, I had my hand on his chest, so I was able to actually, you know, witness his last beat. And you know, that was hard. That was that. If there's ever a hard moment in anybody's life, that was it. No, and yeah, and that's something I often say. A parent should not have a birth and a death certificate in the same envelope. It's not in the nature of our being. Well, knowing Christian the way I did, I know he would prefer to have people happy about the time they spent with him, and he would want to show off the things that he did. And hence came forth the celebration of life ceremony. Well, instead of everyone being sad, it was a celebration of life, showing off his Lego collections, his Star Wars collection, and his artwork, a video, and some of the other things that made up who Christian was. It was a showing of everything that was Christian.
I got involved with this project about a month ago. Christian Stafford is 8-year-old diagnosed with leukemia, terminal leukemia, and we had been asked by his father, Rick Stafford, do an event in Ormond Beach up there. About 20 of us had gotten together, and we were prepared to do it in Christian past before we were able to provide that for him and the family.
The call went out to try to visit Christian in the hospital, and I felt it was very compelling to go help Christian out in his plight, but we didn't arrange the visit in time to see him while he was actually in the hospital, so I felt it was imperative that I go to the celebration for his life.
I got together with the local squad leader for the Florida Garrison. We discussed making the stormtroopers his honor guard at his celebration of life ceremony. On the morning of the ceremony, I saw people of all shapes and sizes pouring out of vehicles with boxes, crates, and bins just full of armor parts. It was an amazing sight, especially for a layperson. The troopers were actually in a formation outside the chapel doors, and as people walked up, they would open the doors for them. During the actual ceremony itself, the troopers marched in a formation, and two of the clone troopers then presented a helmet, blaster, and certificate making Christian an honorary member of the Florida Garrison.
Plaque, blaster, and clone trooper helmet that we came up with. And from here on in, Christian will be a member of the 501st Legion and also the Rebel Legion. Thanks, guys.
My name is Chris Delspina, TC number 7100. I come from Coral Springs, Florida, about 2.5 hours away. I came to pay my respects to Christian Stafford and his family. And I would just like to ask the opportunity also to announce our fallen trooper and an honorary member of the Florida 501st Garrison, TC number 1219. And he's also an honorary member of the 501st Clone Trooper Detachment. We're pleased to have him and salute you, your fallen brother.
And he never gave up the fight, not even at the very end. His body failed him, but his mind was always sharp. He wanted to live forever, and those were some of his last words: "Why can't I live forever?" And I don't think he realized that he is living forever in all of us. We get to walk around every day thinking about him, knowing about him, and that in itself allows him to live. You will forever be a hero. And I love you, Christian. I always will. Thank you. How do you feel?
Happy.
Feel good?
Happy good. Happy good, happy.
You know I love you?
I love you. Very much.